Montreal's controversial ban on pit bulls has been delayed again, this time until a legal challenge is resolved. The bylaw would prohibit any new pit bull type dogs in the city, while requiring existing dogs that fall in that category be muzzled whenever they're outdoors. This rule took effect on Monday but was quickly suspended until today's hearing. The SPCA challenged the law, saying it discriminates against dogs that aren't dangerous and is too vague in its definition of pit bull type dogs. So let's connect with CBC's Nancy Wood to clear this up for us. And Nancy, what's the latest on the challenge from the SPCA?
Well, the SPA, as you mentioned, is arguing a couple of things. One, that the law is vaguely written and it's way too broad when it comes to defining what is a pit bull, much broader than, say, Ontario's law. And that, two, Montreal's a city and as such can only order the euthanization of strays or dangerous animals, and that it didn't categorize pit bulls as dangerous, it just banned them as a group. So the judge said, okay, this is all on hold, and it's on hold until we have an in-depth hearing on this.
So I can tell you, coast to coast, pit bulls are a polarizing issue, and that certainly has been the case in Montreal.
Yeah, maybe more so in Quebec. We've had some very high-profile cases of pit bull attacks in the last year. There was a little girl whose face was ripped off in a public park. There was a woman who was killed in her own backyard by a neighbor's dog. And there was a guy who had the back of his knee torn off by a dog who was tied up outside a grocery store. Now, the city says its stats show that more than a third of dog bites here are by pit bulls, and half of the dogs who had to be put down because they were aggressive in the last 2 years were pit bulls. But there's a lot of controversy over whether breed-specific legislation actually works, and people point out a lot of these attacks could have been avoided if Montreal had just applied its old law more seriously. And here's what it comes down to. Pit bull supporters are very, very passionate. Here are some of them at a protest last night.
Quite ignorant the way you're thinking about these dogs when there's very few pit bulls that have attacked and bitten people to the extent of this bylaw.
This law is unjust, based in no scientific fact.
I'm hoping that Montreal, our elected councillors, go back to the drawing board and realize that this law was passed too soon and that they could modify it and make it better.
Still, Montreal Mayor Denis Coderre says they are a vocal minority and that they don't speak for most Montrealers.
I'm always on the field. I'm not hiding myself. I talk to everybody. And they are pleased. Why? Because it's a balanced bylaw. Because we're saying that we're not slaughter all the dogs. I'm not saying that no pit bull should exist, period. I'm saying that for those who are here already, you have to respect the condition.
But what Mayor Coderre is not saying is that the polls show most Quebecers think it shouldn't be a municipal law, it should be a provincial law. So, Ian, what's next? Well, this is temporary. The judge says it's to protect pet owners and dogs until the case can actually be heard. And he says there is a pressing need to do that, but we don't have a date for that yet.
Thanks, Nancy.
You're welcome.